How are you
Well,
doing
I
this
did
morning?
see it on Facebook when it was posted right away, but
Yeah,
yeah.
we tried to get it up on social media as quickly as possible, and then
Mm-hmm.
even the local news, like that Radar Sonora
Uh-huh. Did you get it
and
on there?
FM 105, both
Yeah.
broadcasted the story that it was stolen, but none of that helped us retrieve it or anything. We still don't know where
No.
the car is. Even I mean, I honestly don't. I think that kind of stuff moves so fast that there's no reason to keep it together. It would immediately be turned into parts.
Right. I mean, it probably went to Empalme right away,
I
if it even got that far.
Yeah, I could. I don't know. I don't know anything about that subculture around here. What I do know though is that you look around and you find a lot of similar vehicles. And
Uh-huh.
one of the problems with my Honda was that it was an American made Honda, or it
Uh-huh.
was a US released Honda.
Right.
And it was before they started releasing Hondas in Mexico, CRVs in Mexico. And so
Right.
there are no parts available easily in Mexico for that car. I've had to always bring parts down from the States.
What year is it?
It's a 99.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's a 20-year-old car. Even if I had insurance
Right.
on it, it wouldn't have replaced the fact that we don't have that transportation anymore. And
Right.
we just had the transmission all fixed. I cleaned the cylinders. We just put like $300 into the car to begin with. We got the air conditioner working, the transmission
Oh,
fixed.
nice.
Yeah, well, nice for whoever's got it now.
Yeah.
Ugh. I gotta stop talking about it.
I know it's annoying. Well, I have an appointment on Friday to import my car,
Well,
my uh,
congratulations.
2005 Explorer. So hopefully that goes okay.
Yeah, the other thing that it's left me with is I don't know how we need a new car. I don't know how we're gonna do it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But if we get a new car, I mean, do we still feel comfortable driving into Wymus with it? It's like,
Well, yeah,
I mean, it's
but you put an alarm on it.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, they must be able to jimmy the locks really easy on those. So
Well, it's a
get
20 year
in.
old car, so any way to
Yeah,
get into it's probably pretty well known.
probably.
Yeah.
Wow, bummer.
Yeah.
All I have to say. So, do you have another car?
We have two other broken cars.
Oh, shoot.
So this is the best one that was running. And we wanted to buy a new car, but all of a sudden COVID hit. And
Mm-hmm.
so the market's just been astronomical.
Oh,
Morning,
yeah.
Chester. Welcome.
Good morning.
Judy and I were just talking about my car got stolen last week.
Oh, that's too bad.
Ugh. It's the worst case scenario, too. Hey, we're about to start. We've got like 30 seconds dialing down on the clock. I don't know if you guys ever see this, but this is kind of, where is my screen? There we go. This is kind of what you see on YouTube as we're waiting to get started. It's showing little pieces of artwork from the podcast and a countdown saying that we're starting pretty soon. There's also some music playing, but I don't have that pipe. Oh, I guess I could. No, I don't think I can pipe that through for you guys to hear. I can hear it, but I don't think you guys can hear it. Oh, now I hit a button over here, and the music should go away, and we should be live. And this is Scott Stimson with International Computer Solutions, meeting today, Tuesday at 10, with the San Carlos Computer Club. And wow, I'm realizing it looks like we have a really small group today, doesn't it? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
I
Good.
can comment on some of your auto thefts in other parts of the country and somewhat around on the expressways or toll roads or whatever you want to call it. Basically, a lot of them is the cartels even, or just gangs that are very organized, and they will have specific lists of vehicles they want, and they will radio in to the crew that stops the vehicle for some reason or another and do it. One of the spots I'm very familiar, was when our good friend was working basically across the border from McAllen, and he came up and checked in at the place of employment that day with the security guards at the gate, and the guard told him, leave immediately, turn around, go back to the States. They just took pictures of your car, which says they are in the process of radioing where to get it. And they will even come into the maquiladoras and do it.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I don't know if you're aware of the maquiladoras here in Guaymas. Have you noticed all the cars parking out in front of them these days? In front of, on 15? Well, there's an interesting reason for that. The maquiladoras enforced, if you do not have Mexican insurance, you cannot get the sticker to drive through the gate and park inside.
Oh, this is with a U.S. car? Or with any car?
No, these are all Mexican cars parked out front.
Mostly, you don't buy insurance.
So
But it's true for everyone.
So you're saying that when we buy Mexican insurance now, it gives us a sticker, or you show it to the maquilas and they give you a sticker?
If you work at the maquiladoras,
Mm-hmm.
you get a sticker to come park inside the facility.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
I wondered about that because when I went into Walmart and all the cars were parked out beyond the fence,
Yeah.
and we were speculating maybe it's to get out of there quick once your shift is over and it takes a while to go through security to get out. That's really interesting.
No,
Now,
sorry, Dave, go ahead.
It's interesting. About 2 months ago, it was probably 2 or 3 times the number of cars parked outside than it is currently.
Wow.
So quite a few people have given in and gotten insurance, it appears, so that they could go inside and park and probably, thus also feel more secure about their car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this insurance requirement, but I'm very familiar as a service provider as needing a special placard to get in, and so there's a vetting process. You have to do that to get into the park and park in the park.
You have to have a placard to park and come into Loma del Mar if you're not a resident.
Yeah.
Boy, all that's changed in recent years. I wonder how
Loma
much.
del Mar has been doing this for quite a few years.
Yeah, I've seen people dressed quite well driving a fancy Mercedes turned away at the gate of our development because they could not reach the homeowner who they said they were going to visit.
Right.
Well, I suspect my car wasn't stolen by the cartels. I suspect it was stolen by somebody that knows somebody else that needs car parts.
I would be very suspicious of who you had working on it. Might have been the one that passed the word that, hey, if you're after parts type thing, here is one that exists.
Oh, I don't know. We use some pretty legitimate people. I wonder if it wasn't just an opportunity crime.
Well, it could be if the car is recognizable as being that U.S. model.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I think that's the problem, is that it's very recognizable as that particular model.
Mm-hmm.
What was it?
It was a 99 CRV. It was a 20-year-old car, but it was the only car we had that was running. We've got a minivan and a Nissan, a Mexican Nissan, and both of them are broken down right now. The minivan I was able to bring back up to life, and so that's what we're using now, but we're using it with really kid gloves. We don't know whether we can trust it or not. I mean, just to get it to run, I had to add more coolant, more oil, buy a new battery for it. It's
Well, now
not.
those are pretty normal things, Scott.
Well, what's not normal is after it's been running for about 30 minutes and you turn it off, like say you go into an OXO, you come back, it may
Mhm.
not start.
Mm.
And you have to wait
Yeah.
for the motor to cool down until maybe like 20 minutes, and then you can restart the van. And I've had
Wow.
mechanics go through it, and in the end, they're like, it needs a motor rebuild.
Will the Mexican insurance replace it?
I'm sorry, Chester, I didn't have insurance on it. It was a car that we were bringing back to life, and so over the last year, we've had it with mechanics more than it's been with us. And so as soon as we brought it back online, we started using it, and we didn't get insurance on it. And so if the car is only worth like $2,000 in the Arizona market, it's not worth. I mean, that would be about as much. It was worth a whole lot more as transportation to us than it was anything else. But that's the problem, is we've had three cars that have been slowly falling apart on us. And at the moment, that was the one that was running the best. And that's why it was in Wymus. Was Yuya's car is broken down, so she was using my car to go to Wymus and drop the kids off at school.
Well, surprisingly, some of the older cars are really quite desirable. I have a 2003 Chevy Suburban that, looks atrocious, the peeling paint and all that sort of stuff, and windows that don't work. But I use it basically for hauling, and I do take it every year to Colorado because it holds so much stuff, or occasionally to Tucson because that big old Suburban holds like 3 to 4 times what our little Jeep Cherokee will hold.
Yeah, well, I suspect it's that kind of crime. It's because this particular model car was available to be sold and brought into Mexico, and now there's a bunch of them, but I know it's really hard to get parts for them. And I suspect it was an opportunity crime. Or Yuya said she was being followed by police. And I swear to God, every person that I've talked to deal with this situation has encouraged me to go through all the motions, get it reported with all the people, and then they prefix it with, they're not going to do shit about it. They don't do anything.
Yeah.
Right. And I started calling around, and the consensus was, well, it's the police that are stealing the cars.
Yeah.
And so
well, I have another Mexican computer question.
Yeah, let's get on to some computer stuff.
Okay.
But I do want to say that's the reason we're meeting from my office, because we, all this happened in the middle of our friend's wedding. Yuya was the wedding director, and I was the officiant. I was the one that was marrying them. And so it was a huge wedding, and it was just like 4 days of wedding stuff going on, and the car got stolen right in the middle of this. And so I never had an opportunity to go over to Tequila's to test their systems or set anything up, because we had these two really big deals going on in our life at the same time. So that's the reason I'm sitting in my office once again this week instead of broadcasting from Tequila's. But my tentative plan is to be there next week. Dave, go ahead with your Mexican computer question.
Well, this is a strange one. Does anyone know of Mexitel? Mexitel. I have a website that doesn't work. Mexitel.sra.gov.mx.
Mexitel is un servicio telefónico gratis, gratuito por los mexicanos que desean un número. Huh. I've never heard of it. But there's a government webpage about it. Are we talking about?
The one I found.
It's a free telephone service for Mexicans who wish to obtain an appointment to get passports, consulate registrations, civil registry. So they'll actually give you a phone service specifically for this use.
Well, the reason is I have a log on with it and a password with it, and I'm pretty sure that people are, something's happening with my email, And I think somebody has use of my email, but not my password. And so I'm trying to change things. And this is a very suspicious site to me, but it doesn't work. And they're one site that has one of my very critical passwords, unfortunately.
But what?
So I was trying
But you're trying to get set up for this phone service? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm actually trying to delete my account.
Oh, really? I've never even heard of it.
Okay. I figured you might.
Free. Yeah, this is the very first time I've ever seen anything on it. What's the website that you sign into?
Mexico.sre.gov.mx, and it's no longer valid. It's obviously been changed to a different website. So I'm almost thinking, well, maybe I could just forget about it. But if they transferred my email and password to a new website, then I am concerned.
Yeah, you're
What
right.
what were you using this for?
How long has it been bad? The website. Did you just?
I don't know.
Because last year, there's a website here on the government site as of September 29th, 2021 that's promoting the site you're talking about. Is it possible it's only been down for a little bit? Maybe they didn't pay their registration.
Well, and when I'm thinking it could have been like, where you do the online either Sentry or immigration stuff, renewal, one of those types of things.
Well, right now it is a name is not resolved.
Right.
Yeah. It looks like this is a phone service that's used specifically for free to access Mexican services from the government. Can you actually use it to dial other phone numbers other than Mexican phone numbers?
I don't think I ever used it to phone somebody. I think it was to sign up or get a phone message maybe from them.
I was able to log on to a site. It's called, hold on, let me go back to it. It's to make an appointment website, Mexitel. It's mexitel.sre.gov, but I logged into embamex, embamex.sre.gov.mx.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I've actually got that on my screen right now.
And you can create an account there and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm having
this is
interesting emails of.
Well, here's an interesting one, David.
From my website, my domain server type thing, and this message will not be delivered. Could not be delivered. We will wait and try 24 hours later, type thing with all the stuff, but it's not always when I sent.
So, David, I'm on that site that Judy's rattling off, and it promotes still the Mexitel address that you're talking about that is coming up as non-resolvable. And that was updated February 8th of 2022. So I've got a feeling, and it also mentions these other places like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, where maybe you can communicate with them. I'm trying to bring it up right now. Embajadas de Mexico in Colombia. I don't know what that's all about. Yeah.
And there's also a Hungary.
Wow. Yeah, that's very confusing.
And then the calendar way down is from 2017 on that same Embamex.
Yeah, and if you go to the Mexican consulate site, that's New York. I am looking in the address header. If you see in the address header on my screen, if you can read it, it's Nueva York that they've used, and there is to make your appointment like you were seeing on the other webpage, and you click there, and it takes you to Dave's site, and the site is not being resolved. Well, what we can say for sure is there's plenty of Mexican government consulate sites out there that are pointing to the address that you think is legitimate, which is not coming up as legitimate. I wonder if it's not just temporarily down. I would try checking it back in a week and see if it's been resolved.
Yeah, the other thing is, don't forget that the consulates unfortunately got rid of the where you can dial them so much directly or communicate directly with them, and they routed all the stuff through a central location that then switches the call back to the local consulate. And that was about a year ago, I think, too.
There's just so much documentation out here referencing that site that you're talking about. I keep running and I'm not looking. Yeah, it's just all over the place.
Okay.
I'm just doing Google searches on the address, and it's everywhere.
And I was using Dogpile or one of those, so, or DuckDuckGo, so it's on those too.
Citas in. Dare I switch the language? Oh, I can't. Oh yeah, I can. There we go. Cool. Mexico. Oh, well, this kind of looks new. Hey, Dave, does this look like anything like what you'd be looking for? Can you see that on my screen? Are you still with us, Dave?
Yeah, I'm still there. Just trying to look at it, bigger. I don't think so, but I think as you say, I'll probably, since there are so many references, wait a week and see what happens.
Yeah, it could be that it's just down at the moment.
Yeah, what frustrates me about the internet is that things don't have to be dated, so you never know what's current or not.
Well, I have to say, all those government pages we went through, they made a point of annotating that with the last updated date. That's why I was able to rattle them off to you. Is that every one of those Mexican government pages at the very bottom had a last updated on, and that's why I was able to track the dates.
Yeah, I wish all of them had to do that.
Yeah, a requirement. Well, let's get into I don't know how I can help you out with that, Dave, except I would just wait.
Just wait.
Yeah, just wait and see. If you Mexitel, I'm not even familiar with it. I'll have to ask Yuya about it, see if she's familiar with it. If she's familiar with it, maybe she'd know somebody else to check with or some other site to check with. It seems like anybody in the government, if you know anybody in the government, they might have an idea what's going on. Or just assume it should work. Let's move on. I have brought some topics myself. Dave has obviously brought a topic I can't help him with. Does anybody out there have a topic that maybe I could help you with? Paul did send me his list of movies, but I haven't had a chance to put it in a document form. I had kind of a stressful week.
Say the least.
Good morning, Mom.
Good morning.
I saw
with you.
Pop in while we were deep in conversation.
I have to show you what I'm doing.
What
a friend just brought us the last of peaches that they had in their refrigerator. They don't grow up here, but what a treat. So I'm having that. And we had our first snow yesterday, and boy, did it come down. but it's not quite cold enough to stay. There's still some on the roof. But yeah, winter's coming for sure.
I
That's
hear
all
a
I got.
I hear a thumping out there. Is that at your place?
Oh yes, we're having to have both houses the chimneys wrapped. Apparently, the earthquake we had a while back, couple of years ago, has caused damage to the chimneys, but we hadn't noticed it. But now they're cracked, and we did find some leaking in the other house. So they checked both chimneys, and now they're going to wrap it in some kind of rubber membrane until next spring when they can come and repair it properly.
Oh wow.
Always something.
Always something. Yeah. Well, like I said, I did bring some topics myself. I don't know if you guys have seen this Gizmodo story, which is kind of interesting. It's talking about the new iPhone 14's car crash detection and saying that roller coasters are setting it off.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. The
They
best
said to put it on airplane mode
put it on airplane mode.
when you go into that kind of a situation.
You don't think that would trigger an airplane crash? You give
I
the
hope
wrong,
not.
Give the wrong alert.
Let's hope not.
It was written up in the Wall Street Journal and not a good report at all.
No.
It was poor writing, or poor, or bad information, or good information and a horrible thought.
Bad information.
Oh, because I heard that it was bad information, and then they went and vetted some of these experiences. So, like, that's why I made a link to the Gizmodo report, is because their information is supposed to be re-vetted. But it has to do with the stopping, the acceleration and stopping. How they never expected anybody to be going 40 miles an hour and come to zero so quickly. I think the suggestion was for Apple to build a roller coaster mode.
I would hope that even putting it in airplane mode would not disable that feature if that feature worked properly for just car crashes. Because it seems like, that's a very distinct possibility. You might have your phone in something like an airplane mode as you're driving along.
Right?
I don't want my phone to do that.
To report
My
if you're in a
car
crash.
that I traded off would automatically slam on the brakes, and they could never fix it. So I traded that car off.
It would automatically do what? Slam on the brakes?
Well, it was called the hillside assist feature. And all of a sudden, like you're merging onto the freeway, and the hillside assist feature would come on, and then the car would lock up and wouldn't go.
What was the assist it was trying to help you do?
Hold it on a hill when you were stopped on a hill at a stoplight or something, so it didn't roll backwards.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was in the shop in May when I got back 5 times before I traded it off on the 25th of August. So,
Hi, guys.
hi.
Hello, Cheryl. How are you doing? You look like you're on the road.
Bill's saying hi to, well, we're stopped in between doctor's appointments today, and just thought we'd check in. You guys are talking vehicles. Scott, did you get your car back?
No.
No.
No updates. They're supposed to call me. I don't have a phone number. I have a case number, but they assured me at the federal level that was only to report it at the local level. So I don't get the federal number until they put it in the system and called me and had an interview with me. Like I was telling these folks, everyone that's encouraged me to go through all these motions at the same time has said they're not going to do anything. They don't do anything. There's no hope. It's It's not going to be found. I'm suspecting it's already in pieces somewhere.
So does
Or-
your insurance company,
didn't-
when we
didn't have
our
insurance
theft-
on it. We didn't have it.
Oh.
We'd spent the last year getting it fixed, and consequently, it was the best running vehicle we had. And the other two vehicles are broken down at the same time. That's the reason Yuya was using it to drop the kids off at school. It was parked right on the main road. It was on 20th and 5th Street, up there, right in downtown Anchorage, right in front of a school. And she locked it up and left it for 10 minutes. Came back and it was gone.
Jeez. Not good.
No.
Okay.
So
Well, we're gonna
go ahead, Cheryl.
we're gonna check in with you guys maybe next week. Next week we will be in the United States, so we're just finishing up everything at home and on the road on Friday.
All right. Well, good
Sure.
luck with that.
Cheryl, before you leave,
Mhm.
I want to mention that one of the best movies we've ever watched, and it was on Netflix, and it's good till October 31. Then they take it off. The name of it is The Notebook.
The Notebook.
Yeah.
Familiar with that
It
one.
is
That's a
just
love
awesome.
story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a love story, but it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I
read the
watched
book.
it a few years back, but it's a good recommendation. Okay.
All right.
We'll see you guys later. I don't see Jim. Did Jim Cunningham check in today?
No, we've been a small group all morning.
Well, he's in San Carlos, so
Maybe
There
he's
you
having
go.
internet problems.
well, they had a few problems when they got there, but yeah, I'll let you tell him. I'll let him tell you.
A few problems.
I've asked, do you have snow there? Snow yet?
Not yet, but it's going to be chasing us all the way.
Mm.
I looked at the forecast for Butte, Montana, which is our first stop in
Mhm.
the United States, and I'm going to have my winter boots on.
We had our first snow yesterday, and it was a big one, but it's too warm to stick yet.
Yeah, well, we had a huge windstorm came up last night, and you looked out just before the rain started, and it was orange flying through the air because all the leaves finally, So we had an orange snowstorm yesterday.
That's always fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you guys take care, and we'll see you guys all later.
All right, Cheryl. You guys have a good
Be
trip.
safe.
Bye bye.
This is Paul here. It
Yeah,
looks
Paul.
like I'm in Tequila's, but if I turned off the effect, you'd see that I'm in my bedroom. Because we went on a cruise and came back a week ago, Tuesday, and Tuesday night I started coughing and sneezing, and I have COVID.
Oh no.
And you just stayed in your room?
I pretty much stayed in my room on the ship. Yeah.
It's
He's
got to
got-
be coming from the movies. It's from the
Yeah.
movie.
He's got the movie list as proof that he spent most of his time in his room.
Yeah, some of those movies were contagious.
That's right. So are you feeling okay? Just a bad cold?
Yeah, well, the symptoms were no worse than many colds that I've had.
Yeah.
And the Kaiser did prescribe a medicine for me, which I've finished taking now, 5 days of medicine. And the positive line on the tester is very faint, but there.
But still
They say
there.
if you can see anything at all, you're positive.
Yeah.
So I try to stay positive all the time. But
Not in this.
that's,
Well,
so,
I think of those tests as whether you're positive or not. The question is whether you're infectious or not. And so I think that's why you get the faint line versus a thick line is just how infectious you are.
yeah.
Yeah. Parts per millionth, stuff like that.
Well, I hope you're all safe on this meeting.
Is this your first time getting COVID?
Yeah,
Well,
because I've gotten all the immunizations and boosters and that I was eligible for, and So it's not life threatening, but it's kind of annoying.
Kind of annoying, yeah. Well, we're sure glad you're not super sick and
No.
that you can be with us here today. Hello,
Great.
Jim.
Glad to be here.
We were wondering where you were. I heard you're back in San Carlos.
We arrived yesterday late afternoon and have been trying to get the house settled in. Apparently, we had a power failure while we were gone, and everything that was in the fridge is now moldy and
Oh
huge
no.
mess.
Oh no. That's
Oh
never a
well.
good thing.
You know, in 10 years, it's the first time that's happened, so I guess we're lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, given the kinds of storms and electrical issues we have in this area. If it's only happened
that's
once,
true.
that's great.
Well, Jim, we were without power for about 3.5 days continuously.
Oh,
You know,
that would be tough.
that was about 6 or 8 weeks ago. And most of the town was out for a period of time.
Well, that must have been the event then, because the mold was old, and it had obviously happened sometime back past. It wasn't real recent.
Yeah, it sounds like you need somebody to check on your place when things like this happen.
Yeah, we should have. And my buddy Jerry should have been the one to do that, but he didn't.
What was it running when you got home?
Was it what?
Running when you got
Yeah,
home.
the power was running, everything was fine, the fridge was fine. It's just that
All the food was bad.
it was just ugly, awful.
It was bad, but it didn't stink.
Yeah. So true. And when I look at what happened to all those people in Florida, you know, we can't complain. This was a minor nuisance, not even a major nuisance.
That's really the way you got to think about these things. You know, the car situation. I don't know if you guys remember, but our friend Inez was carjacked. I mean, she was outside her work with a brand new car. Well, brand new to her, but I mean, like when she got a loan for and had not yet gotten a chance to put it. I mean, just had it for hours, and somebody stuck a gun in her face and took the car. So my wife was just so angry about my car being stolen as she was using it, and I just kept saying, "Look, you're okay. The kids are okay. Nobody was threatened."
Yeah, think about what Inez had to go through.
Yeah, I can't think of a better way to have a car stolen than to have you nowhere near it.
Yeah, exactly right. Well put, Scott.
Well, I did bring some other Jim, did you come with any topics? No, everybody's lacklustered for topics on computers, but I did bring a couple myself.
Not yet, no.
Okay.
I'm sure as I get settled in here, I'll have lots.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to that. I wanted to mention that this new Cloud Act that was put together like 4 years ago has just become implemented. The document says here, I think on the 3rd of October. It was last week I was going to mention this, but we didn't really get a chance to talk about it. This is the Department of Justice. If you look at our document, I don't know if anybody out there's got the document that I put together, because I did not bother to share it in chat this morning, but let me stick it in the in-call messages. That way you can get a link to everything I'm talking about. But this is the Department of Justice notification that they're going to be, this has been implemented now. This is the Clarifying Lawful Overseas Use of Data Act, and it's specifically between the U.S. and the U.K. to share your information, such as your social networking information, but other things like search results and things like that are gathered by your service providers. and law enforcement is able to ask for this information. This is supposed to make getting warrants and getting access to digital data easier for law enforcement. I don't yet know how this will end up affecting us. I don't really have a good feel for an abusive authoritarian type style of hurt on people because this has been put together. From what I understand, this just streamlines the ability for law enforcement from either country to ask for digital information. There's still a warranting process that's required. There always has been. But I get the impression that what this is really doing is automating the process that used to have to be done through a series of formal mails. So you'd have to correspond. You'd have departments in one country corresponding with another country to make sure that you were able to get this information. I'm not an expert on this information at all, but what I did find was I found a link to an AWS conference from 2019 where they have done a fairly decent job. Let me see if I can get to there we go. They've done a fairly decent job of outlining how this would affect developers, and they start with this rudimentary understanding of what this means. It's called Putting the Cloud Act into Context. And so if you guys are looking for a presentation that would talk to you about how your information is now legally being shared with the UK and vice versa, this is a good starting point. Has anybody heard about this going on? I wasn't even aware that they had passed this back in 2018. This is the first I had heard of it, was that it was being implemented now.
Me either.
So it may warrant some more research on all our parts because personal privacy is always a concern. But from what I got, the gist of it sounded like it was just a way to make what they're already doing happen quicker. And the only other topic I brought with me is that there is a link here to an article talking about how Meta, Facebook's company, has released a list of over 400 malicious Android and iOS applications that are out there that were stealing Facebook credentials. So this article I've linked to is a very short read, but what it's got a list of every one of the apps. So if you've got any obscure apps on your phones, you might want to just verify they're not on this list. If they are on this list, Facebook says they do have your password and username, so you should change your password on Facebook. Some of these apps from what I was reading about this siege of passwords, some of them you signed into with Facebook, and what they did is they collected your Facebook information. They put up what looked like a Facebook login, and they collected your Facebook information. It would pass it on to Facebook, and so everything you did would look legitimate.
Well, speaking of security, while we're talking, I just received an email that contains instructions on how to install Windows 11 without a Microsoft account so that Microsoft doesn't track all your activities. And basically, you're using Rufus and downloading from Rufus a Windows 11 ISO file to do the install.
Yeah, I saw those instructions, and I've been listening to the security guys talking about it, and it's sure gone back and forth on this Rufus iOS, or IO. What am I trying to say?
ISO.
ISO, thank you. They've gone back and forth on whether this is a good idea or not. Because what it does is it bypasses that authentication, but then there's pieces of Windows that don't get installed. So you can end up in
Well-
I've done it myself. You end up with this very skeleton version of Windows.
Yeah, that could be good and bad. Depends on which pieces. And, that they're obviously not installing the pieces that forcing you to use Microsoft.
There's also a couple of different install modes that are out there that you can you have to be a little bit more sophisticated. Well, actually, maybe you don't if you're comparing using Rufus to build an ISO or just using a standard installer. There's a couple of processes, Dave, that you can put in a mode. I'm not remembering at the moment, but at the command line, because you can induce a command line right when it's trying to get you to sign up for a Microsoft account or sign in with your Microsoft account. There's actually a key combination. God, for the life of me, I can't remember. It's something like Alt F11 or something like that will bring up a terminal command line. And then from there, you can put in a Microsoft command that will allow you to bypass the sign up and just go right into the install. And I've played with that as well. And it does the same thing. You end up with a very skeleton system, but you don't end up having to get an ISO from an odd source. And Rufus, yeah, that's definitely not something you want to recommend to a novice, is go use Rufus to build ISOs. Because you could be at the mercy of somebody. It could be a security concern where the ISO comes from. In this case specifically, you're getting the Microsoft software from something other than Microsoft, modified specifically so it doesn't work the way Microsoft does. It's just sets kind of a bad precedent. But that's just an opinion. I think I preferred the fact that Microsoft had their own internal commands that you could. I'll try and find it and send it to you, Dave.
Okay. Yeah, just, I see no reason for Microsoft to be tracking us all the time.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we should have a default opt-out on absolutely everything.
And we do on Windows 10. It's a little complex.
Well, to some degree, Windows 10 was controversial when it came out because there's a degree of tracking you just cannot turn off. Microsoft has made it part of their terms of service. You can turn off a lot of tracking, very specific tracking, but there's a whole lot of metrics that they're taking on your system and your behavior that you've agreed to give them because you're running Windows 10. I'm trying to do a quick install Windows 10 without Microsoft. Look at that, it's at number 1. Yeah, actually this is it. So there's a Rufus version. And there's also this local account version that Tom's guide is saying is still valid up to 22H2. And it's Shift F10. A command prompt will appear.
XDR, Christopher Clancy, or one other.
This is an article from Tom's Hardware. Dave, I'm sure you're familiar with Tom's Hardware, right? Oh,
I have it Tom's things, but I don't think it's Tom's Hardware.
Well, this is an article that gives you, it looks like multiple different ways to get Windows 11 installed without a Microsoft account.
Or just stick with Windows 10 for a while.
Yeah, at least until 2025. It's the computers I'm running it on aren't going to run Windows 11 anyway.
Well, I'm still on Outlook from 2016, so why not?
Yeah.
The last version you can run on your PC.
You and my Macintosh was a great workhorse up until the day it died, and it was 6 generations behind on the operating system. So there's no need to feel like your computer is not still an appliance. Your computer is not still a tool you can use, even though it's been. You just need to be more conscientious of security concerns as it falls out of date. Hey, let me make sure to mention this now, because we forgot last time. Our call is going to end in 10 minutes, and we'll go over to that new address that you'll find in the email or the document that I sent you guys earlier. If you have accepted that other meet into your Google Calendar and you're getting connected at the calendar date with the account that accepted that date, then you should be able to just get into the meeting. It does feel like it's hit or miss at times. So I'm going to stick this Tom's article link on our document as well, in case anybody's interested. And going back to the Facebook password issue, again, if you've got any apps, they said they were VPN apps, they were flashlight apps. But I think what's really important, and I doubt that there would be many instances of this in our group, because in this case, I think we're pretty good. I don't think you're installing obscure apps. I think our group is wise enough to recognize that an app that you know nothing about probably warrants more investigation before you casually put it on your device. And so I would find it surprising. It would probably be 1 or 2 instances in our entire group where somebody has inadvertently installed one of these malicious apps. I would still check this list, though. If you have apps on your phone that you're concerned might be malicious, I would check and make sure it's not on this list of 400. That the apps are no longer in the store. That's how this stuff works, is when they find that there's malicious apps, they pull them from the store, but they can't pull them from your phone. And so if they're still installed in your phone, then you're still at risk, regardless of whether you change your password or not. So it's good to periodically do a review. And the Google Play Store and the iOS, it's either in the store or the iOS or part of iOS. Seems to me they've got kind of a countdown on your apps. Like they'll give you a review of the apps that you haven't used in it for a period of time. So if you've got old apps, they actually point at you and go, hey, these are old apps. Are you still using them? And it seems like I've seen recently, I didn't come here to give specific instructions on how to do this, but I think it's probably a good topic, is that there is a way to configure your app stores to remove apps after a period of time if they have not been used, forcing you to reinstall them. If all of a sudden you need to use that app, it's no longer... If you've gone, say, 6 months without using the app, your device has decided to remove it. And you've set it up like this specifically because of security concerns. Just so you're always up to date and you're only using the things you're most frequently using. So you don't have some rogue app you installed once to do one thing still sitting around on your device. I had one more point I was going to make on that, and I should have written it down because it has evaded me now. 400 malicious apps on Android and iOS. Okay, well, maybe it'll come back later. Well, do we have any other computer topics out there that we have not addressed? Wow, we've gotten through so much in the first part of this meeting. All right, guys. Now we're sitting in silence. We need Cheryl. I'm sorry.
Okay, I actually have one.
All right, Jim. Go right ahead.
My taskbar has suddenly doubled in size, and it gets in the way of screens, and I don't know how to shrink it back. Uh,
Okay.
got any suggestions?
Yeah, that's a feature, not a bug. And you're able to make your taskbar the size that's convenient for your work, the way you like to work. I'm going to put my monitor on screen right now if you can see it. And
Okay.
I've got it hidden right now. So if I just go down to the bottom of the screen, it pops up. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. So then as long as it's not locked, you can do things like move it around, but you can also resize it. You see how my cursor changes to a double-ended arrow when I touch the line of the taskbar?
Correct.
And now if I click and hold, I can modify the size of the taskbar. Just dragging it up and down.
When you say click and hold,
Yep.
what do you mean by that? I mean, I get the double arrow, but I can't pull it down and shrink the size of the taskbar.
So just
I can
click.
pull it up.
Yeah, click and hold the button down. And click and drag. That's what you're doing. You're click and dragging.
All right, wait a second. Yeah, when I do that, it does not shrink. If I pull it up, it expands, but this is as far down as it will shrink, it appears.
So
and it's twice the size it was.
Okay, so your taskbar size is limited by the biggest element in it. So look across your taskbar.
Oh.
In fact, I'll put mine back on here. Like this is the default size. It can only get as small on mine as I've got this toolbar here telling me about my battery. That's got a very specific size. Can't get smaller than that. That size is about the size of my default icons in this bar. And so, or maybe maybe it's a clock format that's making it bigger than you expect it to be. But there's something in your bar that is limiting how small the bar can get.
I understand what you're saying. I can find that then.
Yeah,
it might even be.
It might even be there's some options for these taskbar buttons. It seems like there is something here like show big buttons might be on, and that is not the right language. But somewhere in taskbar settings, there are the ability to make bigger or smaller. Oh yeah, mine are big right now. Use smaller tasks. So there's right here in the taskbar settings, there's a toggle switch that says use smaller taskbar buttons. If I do that, oh yeah, look, they're itsy bitsy now on my screen. I obviously don't like them like that. I'm going to make them bigger again. And then any array of options for changing the size of icons through Windows preferences could affect the default size of that taskbar, because it affects the default size of the icons.
Okay, I'm looking at all of those items and I don't see.
Use small taskbar buttons is the fourth one down from the top if we're on the same version of Windows 10.
In my case, it's the third one down, but there it is. Use small taskbar buttons. It's on.
It's on. So if you turn, then if you turn it off, it'll get even bigger.
Yeah.
Which is the way I like it.
Use Peek to preview the desktop.
Well, what that is when you hover over one of the running icons, you'll see at the bottom of my screen there's a little window there that's representing that application.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. As long as you've got enough processing power for stuff like that, I don't ever recommend turning that stuff off because it just makes, it's just much more friendly user environment. Our call's ending in the next 30 seconds, so I will meet you guys on the other side at the new meet code. I'm bringing it up now, and I'm hanging this up. I'll see you there. Everybody know where they're going. That was real fast. I think we're all here. Here's some more.
I don't know.
But I mean, talk to you, he probably would need to talk to you after.
He did not talk that way.
Hey, we can hear you guys. What are we talking about?
Oh, sorry. Roof, chimney.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I just got
Hey, Pop. Yeah, Mom was telling us the chimney's falling apart.
both our chimneys are falling apart.
Ugh.
Of course, we weren't smart enough to get an engineer to look at that after the earthquake. Never thought about it at all. So
Whoops.
all that earthquake money is gone.
Aw.
Ooh.
So it's
bummer.
coming out of our pocket. Mhm.
Well, I wouldn't beat yourself up. That's kind of the culture, isn't it? Is like we have
Yeah.
earthquakes all the time. Whoever thinks about doing more than a cursory inspection, life goes on.
Yeah, it does, unless your house falls down, and then
Right.
there's trouble. But it didn't. This wooden house stayed up, so.
Yeah, your house survived the big earthquake in '64.
Yeah,
Right?
it did. Yeah. It seems like all the houses that were built down here did.
In your area of Anchorage.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, welcome back, everyone. We have exhausted all the topics that I have brought. I'm happy to answer any questions or chit-chat about anything you guys have, because I've got nothing left. Don't all jump on at once.
Scott,
Yes, sir.
okay, I just found what reduced the taskbar.
Oh, great.
When I right click on the taskbar, it opens up a menu, and the very first item on the menu is toolbars. And when I open up toolbars, there are 4 items above new toolbar, and one of them was address. I had that checked. I just unchecked it, and it collapsed.
All right. Now, if that,
So now I know.
I'm doing the same thing on my screen now as you're talking, and I've put the address bar. It didn't change the size. You're using small buttons to begin with. Let me see if it changes the size when I turn on small buttons. Yep, that was it.
So small buttons on and address
Yep.
produce a double size.
Yeah, well, with the address in there, and this is kind of the point I was going to get at, is that address bar where you can type in an address is formatted with the font size of the system fonts that you have selected either through a theme or you've individually picked for your Windows preferences. And so it's not subject to the size of the icons. It's subject to the size of the fonts that have been selected for to say
Right.
address. And so that's what's going on, is that even though you've chosen to use smaller taskbar buttons, that bar can't get any smaller than the largest thing in that bar. And for you, the largest thing in that bar was that address bar. And that
Interesting.
yeah, you could make that address bar smaller, but you'd have to monk around with themes or individual font settings for the user interface, for the Windows interface. Or you just turn it off like you did.
Yeah.
For me, the reason I wanted to explore that more was because I turned on address bar. It didn't change anything about my presentation, but it's because it's sitting at the same size as the the larger taskbar icons. So I added the address bar, and it was actually slightly smaller than the bar as I have it now. So it didn't make any difference whether it was on or off.
Interesting.
And we've learned something new today. So that's what Computer Club is all about, is to learn something new and to help each other out. Have we got any other things that we should be working on? We could talk about some recommendations. I've brought a pretty cool recommendation that I became aware of this week on Twitter. A fan of Tim Burton's Batman, he re-edited. He's a documentary videographer, so he's got video experience. He knows what he's doing. And he took Tim Burton's Batman from 1989 and turned it into a silent movie. And it works so well. I have to recommend it as a movie pick. It is.
Really?
He's color gradient changed the movie so that it has a look that is like an old silent movie. He's taken, I think it's Hans Zimmerman did the soundtrack for the original movie. He's taken the original soundtrack and he's run it over everything without dialogue. So it's like you're watching a sign. And then he's made up title cards. So just like in a silent movie. So you've got the story being told to you in title cards that are very silent movie era appropriate, as well as grainy film effects, but it works so well. I was just captivated by it. It's the whole movie. I've left a link. I'm sorry, Jim, let me give you a chance to express yourself. What were you going to say?
I was going to say we need Omar to put the music.
That's right.
So it's great. There's a shot, like one of the Batman shots with one of these color changes to it, kind of giving it a feel of age to it. In fact, you know what? I enjoyed it so much. I downloaded my own copy of it because it's being hosted on archive.org. And you can just download it from archive.org. You can watch my screen. I'm going to take a moment and try and switch over my audio so you can hear the music. Let me see if I can mix this somewhere. No, I can't. I think I know what to do though.
This is kind of like going backwards.
Someone loves this movie. This was a lot of work. Because this isn't the soundtrack that went with the movie. This is taking the soundtrack and piecing it together to be appropriate. And then he made all these title cards. Yeah, I thought it was awesome. That's why I had to bring it up. Stop this. I could be here all afternoon.
We got somebody who thought out of the box and decided.
Oh no. I love what you're saying, but somehow my headset changed. Are you still there? Can I hear you?
Yeah.
There, now I can hear you. Sorry, I had to do some monkeying around with my sound to get you guys to be able to hear what I was looking at. And I missed the last part of your comment.
What comment?
The one you were just making. How? But I got the gist. I
that
knew
was a second ago.
I knew where we were going with it. I completely agree. It's so intriguing how captivating that is, going backwards to an older style, how well that works. Like there could be a whole genre of these films that people have, like turn into silent movies, and they're just a whole nother production.
That's really going to confuse the future, isn't it? Future people. What did they do back in the early 2000?
Well, the guy who did this, his name is Crew, I think. Where did Ben Crew, and he makes documentaries, and this is a project he did in his spare time. And I put a link to the movie in our document it's at archive.org, Batman the Silent Motion Picture. And you can watch the whole thing there, or you can download it from there.
Well, fun.
A whole nother way to enjoy Batman. Did anybody else come with some recommendations for this week? I will make a point of putting Paul's movie list on our website. I just didn't get a chance this last week.
Yeah, we didn't find anything that captivating.
How about some trash? What are you watching that's trash right now?
The news.
What an accurate description. Yeah. Well, in that case, I have run out of info. I'm happy to talk for a while longer if people have got their own questions, but I have exhausted everything that I've brought to this meeting.
Okay.
So Scott, with that streaming service that I got, that like your one up there in Alaska,
Yeah.
you know, it says that I need certain modems for it, or I was wondering if there's a chance that the modem that I have in San Carlos is appropriate, the one that I got with Juan.
You know, I think that people, when they talk to tech people, sometimes it gets a bit confusing about what the point is. What is it that we're really talking about? And I could see that easily being an odd conversation with like Scott when he's doing TV and he's talking about modems, he's talking about internet connections, but it really wouldn't be something that would be hardware related. And I think the best way to think about any of these things, whether it's a TV streaming service or email or using Netflix or an Internet of Things device, it's really important to just separate the service from the application that you're using it for. There is limitations on the way you get internet, and there's limitations on the way you use internet, and those are two different things. I'm sorry, Paul, I'm bleeding back over your speakers. If you don't mind, I'm just going to mute you while I'm talking, and then unmute yourself to talk back to me. But these layers, they don't intersect at anything more than you didn't provide enough internet, or you're providing shoddy internet. Your application, what it is you're trying to do, whether it's watching Netflix or make phone calls or check email or read web pages, that is going to have its own capacity requirements. There's going to be an amount of speed that's necessary. There's going to be an amount of data that's necessary. Those are all going to have some system requirements from your internet connection. And then your internet connection is going to be providing you with a specific amount of speed and a certain amount of reliability. The way internet does that doesn't affect the application. When you've got that speed, you've got the ping, when you've met your application's needs, it doesn't matter what modem it is or what cable it is that came down to you. Like, for instance, here, all this application I actually do it through two different internet connections. One comes from a DSL connection, the other comes from a wireless. All that's sorted out long before I'm trying to have this meeting with you. The meeting requires a certain capacity of being able to send out to you at a certain speed and get a response at a certain speed, to be able to send a certain amount of data. Those are the restraints of the application. But the modem I'm using shouldn't matter to the application. It should never matter. The most it should matter is to provide that capacity for your application. And so when people are talking about your TV service would work better with this kind of modem, I get the impression they really don't understand that relationship. Because what you want is an internet connection that will provide what that app needs. I'm sorry, Paul, you were going to say something.
Yeah, it wasn't the internet necessarily. It was installing the DSL in the modem. Some of them were easy and some of them were very hard. My question is, you install the DSL in the modem that I've got already?
Well, I don't know. Because the DSL connection is provided by a modem device given to you by your internet provider. And then that internet connection needs to be brought to you in your office or your bedroom or your living room. And so that device that the internet provides you, the internet provider has given you, may or may not meet the requirements for your application. It may not have enough internet. to reach your bedroom. And so that would be a matter of you replacing it with something or supplementing it with something that could provide that much internet to your bedroom, for example. And so if you're having that kind of experience, I mean, that's not so much this TV application only works on this particular kind of equipment. If it's more your circumstances, where your bedroom is, what equipment that has been provided to you isn't able to provide you with a capacity for your application. And so you may find that for you to get enough internet wherever you're using that application, you've got to upgrade your wireless technology. You follow my meaning?
Into a mesh or something like that.
Yeah, well, nowadays that's what I like to recommend. I think the mesh networks are awesome. They give you a lot more opportunities for maintaining. You can't get more internet than what is provided to you by your internet provider, but you can lose internet throughout your house because of insufficient network equipment. And so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about bolstering your network equipment so that you can get a hold of that full capacity that the internet provider is providing you with. And probably the best way to think about that is if you're sitting right next to your modem, or better yet, even if you've got a cable running right to your internet provider from your device, and you're still not able to do what you want to do, then it's probably your internet provider that needs to be beefed up, not you. It's probably, if it's Telmex needs to give you more internet.
Well, I think my TV is hardwired to the modem.
Yeah, so outside of the modem failing, that's the best connection you could have. If that's still not providing you with enough capacity for your TV experience, then you're looking for more from your internet provider or a different internet provider.
Yeah, but the question was installing Express DSL.
VPN, Express VPN.
Okay, Express VPN.
Yeah.
They had a list of like 4 routers, which adapted easily, and they said,
"Oh, okay.
If you're not using these routers, you're gonna have to know what you're doing."
Yes.
And I'm sure you know what you're doing. So.
Well, and knowing
you could do it.
Yeah, and Paul, I'm happy to help you with it. And knowing what I recommend buying the routers that are compatible with ExpressVPN. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was the kind of conversation we were having. But with ExpressVPN, they write their own software to be inside a router. And so by using one of those routers, you can provide your VPN connection anywhere in your house. It takes over the job of being your Wi-Fi connection. And by using one of the routers they recommend and putting their software in it, then they're able to troubleshoot and help you with VPN issues much easier. So it's always my recommendation, if you're going to go with ExpressVPN, to get one of those routers. And I can help you with that. I think I've sent you their list of the compatible routers in the past.
You did. Now, if I don't get one here in the States, are they available easily in Mexico?
I definitely feel like you should bring it down from the States, because down here we're really at the mercy of whatever's available. We can do a quick Amazon search just to see what is available. Let's look at ExpressVPN's recommendation list. ExpressVPN recommended routers. Oh, there's a quick guide Google created right off of the ExpressVPN website. And I'm just going to grab an ASUS and just see if it's available in the Mexican marketplace on Amazon. All right. No, that's not one. They gave me some Asus's, but that's not the one I was looking for. Nope, none of those. Let's take a look at that list again. Oh, the 68 up to version 3. So this one for around $160, 3,140 pesos. The only thing is we don't know what version it is. If it is after version 3, then it won't work according to ExpressVPN. So it has to be before version 3. But using this just as a yardstick, let's see what this is. When do you come down?
Yeah.
We'll be down the first week in November, probably.
Another thought is I've found if you order from Amazon.com in the US and have a delivery address in Mexico, based upon probably the price, they're shipping it out of San Diego and it's getting here in less than 2 days, and they're not even charging any import type thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I wish I could say I've had that experience often enough to think that that's a norm, but I don't think that's a norm.
I've had it about 4 or 5 times.
Really?
Now, if you get, I think the magic clue is $50.
It has to be over $50?
Well, if it's under $50, they don't bother with the customs and any of that stuff.
Oh.
I think the more expensive the product is, the more they are likely to send it through the Mexican chain and pay duty.
Gosh, I don't even see this router available.
Well, these
in the
are a
United
couple
States.
$100 usually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's try this Linksys. I would get the 1900. This is in the Mexican marketplace. Come on. What are you getting mad at me for? Just click. Come on. Come on. Weird. There, now it's working. I think I'm exceeding the capacity of this other computer. No, I don't see that available in the Mexican marketplace.
Well, you were saying that the version number is very critical on that, huh?
It is, because it's got to be one that you can flash with alternate software. Here's one on the list in Mexico. Jesus, that's expensive. It's almost 7,000 pesos. That's nuts. That one's 8,700 pesos. That's just really crazy. So yes, Paul, that's what it comes down to, is that it needs to be very specific. There's a very specific list of routers that work with their software, and I would recommend going with one of their recommendations because it's just easier all the way around.
Okay.
Yeah, I've used a Netgear R7000. It's a relatively low cost. It's not quite as current as could be. Works well with ExpressVPN on their software, pretty easy to modify. Also, I've used the same thing with ExpressVPN running DDWRT, and they also have a support of DDWRT. But in general, I wouldn't recommend the DDWRT because of the complications.
Yeah, right. You would prefer the ExpressVPN software, not the DDWRT setup.
I don't use it because they don't support the USB port on the router.
Oh, the ExpressVPN version doesn't support the USB? I
Right.
don't think that would affect Paul.
No.
No.
And that's why I didn't even mention it has a couple limitations, that being one of them.
Yeah. There is flash routers. They are so expensive. I mean, but if you got the money, they'll send you the correct router loaded up with the correct software. I have yet to have it pre-set up correctly. And so anytime I've had a customer do that, I've still had to go and set it up for them. But what you would have is they would send you the router with the ExpressVPN software already in it, with its goal to have already been set up so that you could just plug it in and use it. Though I haven't had that experience where you could just plug and go. That would be the easiest way to make sure you had the right product for the right software, would be to go through Express routers. And you'd want to go through, I think, this page. I think I just put the link in our in chat, expressvpn.com/vpn-software/vpn-router. You can get it out of our in-call messages, Paul, before you hang up this call. Just click on it and it'll open up the page. And then this middle one that says the best value takes you right to flash routers. Oh, actually, each one of these takes you to flash routers. There's the WRT 3200, the Netgear R7000, and the Netgear R6000. These 1,000 numbers typically refer to range and antennas when you get these bigger numbers.
Well, to me, the advantage of the Netgear R7000 is it's got a very strong Wi-Fi signal in comparison to a lot of routers, even though it only has three antennas. And that's speaking from experience.
Yeah, I mean, that might be the right. It shows here with flash routers with ExpressVPN, it would be $260 plus whatever tax and shipping they put on it.
Yeah. I had bought one of those from Costco for under $100.
Yeah, the problem with that, though, is you have to make sure you're getting the right revision number. And that's why buying from flash routers is so easy for normal people, because they don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely bought routers in the past off of Amazon with this kind of intention and learned later it wasn't the right version number. So this is the one that Dave recommends. And this other one, and he's right, the 7000 does have much more Wi-Fi range than the 6000. But the 6000 you can get on Amazon for $90 as long as it's the right one. Or you can get it from flash routers. Jesus, for $230. God, they really mark it up. Guys, for the price of the refurbished version of the R6000 on Amazon, it's almost worth buying it. You could buy it 3 times, hoping you get the right version number at the same price as the flash router version. Paul, you and I, we might need to do some more research together, try and sort out what's the best way to go, because I'd sure hate to see you pay 3 times as much just for the convenience of it being compatible.
Well, if it's refurbished, it's probably one of the older ones, right?
Yeah, that's probably a good sign that it would be an older version. And it is traditionally the older ones that are more compatible than the newer ones.
And in the description up there, I can't read it very well, but does it say what the the version number is?
No, it doesn't. And that's a real Amazon thing. They just never we might find somebody asking the question, or we might ask ourselves the question.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay, well, I'll do some internet
Here,
work on this.
this router is far better processor than the RS or the R6700 Netgear. Recently switched to new processor. It says the one that's shipped here on Amazon is version 2. The new version uses a cheaper MKT processor. And this is information from 2017. So these aren't even, yeah, who knows what's being shipped on Amazon right now. I think you probably want to ask the version question right on Amazon today about the product that you're trying to buy to find out what the version is. Because it matters when you're going to install this software.
Okay. Well, any progress I make, I'll tell you on WhatsApp. So
sounds good, Paul. And I guess we'll say goodbye unless anybody has anything else to add. We've been going for about an hour and a half now. Mom, good luck with your chimneys.
Yeah, I think they're done. I'll go check on it. Good luck with transportation, Scott.
Oh my God, yeah. I don't even want to think about it. I don't know what we're going to do. We're in no position to buy a new car. I don't even know where we get it.
be riding your bicycle.
Yeah. I sold the bicycles. Help pay for my kids' quinceanera. Well, you guys.
Scott, insurance. Did you have insurance down here that covers that?
No, with the car, like I had mentioned this earlier. The car had been out of commission, and this year we had been putting it back in commission. We paid to have the transmission fixed. We had paid to have the air conditioning fixed, but we had not put insurance on it yet. And so there was nothing. There's not that they would give me much money anyway, because the car isn't actually worth much, and the car is worth like $2,000. Sure. So even if they gave me a check for $2,000, that wouldn't get me very close to replacing the vehicle.
No, I've got one of them like that. It's worth more. You couldn't get anything for it. Again, it still drives, and so I like it.
Right. I mean, and it actually was the one car out of 3 that was working in our lives. Now I've got the van running, but it's kind of iffy to rely on it. It's just such a game. My wife's car is still broken down at home, and we've been trying for the last week to get the mechanic to come over and figure out why we can't even drive it to him. It's just a sad state of affairs in my world right now. And it just came to a head last week because it got stolen right in the middle of Mariah's wedding, which Yuya was the planner of. So she's having to borrow her mom's car to run around to do all these errands. I was the officiant of her wedding, so I had my own stresses going on without a vehicle. It's but all that's over with. Now we can concentrate on what we're going to do about our car crisis.
And I bet the wedding went off wonderful.
It did. It did. It was wonderful. It was like 5 days of people coming in and doing activities. I think we had 4 days straight of partying.
Unknown caller.
What a surprise.
Well, you guys have a good week. If I don't talk to you before next Tuesday, let's plan on that. And hopefully I'll be broadcasting from Tequila's, because that's the ultimate goal, is to get back to in-person meetings. And so I need to get over there with my equipment and test that everything's going to work fine, because I want to keep this virtual meeting going at the same time. Until then, you guys tech on.
Bye, honey.
Bye, guys. Bye, Mom.
Bye.
Bye, all.
Bye, Paul. So that was it. That was this last meeting. Look for it on YouTube. If you like what we do, check out our website at scclub.org. And if you're looking for computer help out there, well, I do most of my IT support now from this chair, so I can get into your computer remotely if it's necessary and sort out your problems. I just last week was helping one of my customers get his wireless printer moved over to a new wireless network and hooked up to a different computer. So if you're having trouble with any of that kind of stuff, just let me know. I'm here to help. Scott at internationalcs.net. Till next Tuesday, tech on, everybody. I never went live. Motherfucker. Motherfucker.